Well, good evening and welcome everyone to another edition of A Life in the Arts. My name is Joe White, and I've been in and around the Masterwork Foundation for most of my life. I auditioned at age 15 to sing in a chorus, and I've been here off and on ever since. And the person, though, we're having and enjoying speaking with this evening is Arjay Lewis. And Arjay actually has an even deeper connection with Masterwork than I do, because his mom married 5 people in Shirley, lived in 1955, who got the whole thing started. And, but being around Masterwork through both of our lives, both have been hanging around the arts, except Arjay's been doing active participation more than I get to. And so we're welcome him this evening. What I would like to do right now is to turn over to Masterwork's Executive Director, Todd Whitley, who's got a few words to say.
Thank you, Joe. And hello, everyone. I just want to note that A Life in the Arts is brought to you by the Masterwork Music and Art Foundation, an organization that's been supporting excellence in the arts for over 50 years. 100% of your donation funds art or artists through our community grants, competitive awards, or the Premier Award that we offer every year. And with that, I want to note that this year we're offering a $10,000 Premier Award for an organist. Applications are the website. You can go to our website, masterworkarts.org, and apply if you qualify. And we also offer virtual dance classes twice a week. With that, though, tonight it's all about Arjay Lewis. So take it away, Joe.
Okay, well, so Arjay and I, well, first of all, I have to tell you that we already did an interview with Arjay about a month and a half ago. And
yet here I am.
Technical difficulties arose. This one right here, this technical difficulty. So we don't have a recording of that. And so we invited Arjay back. And we are just, very pleased to have you. We go back a ways too.
Oh, yeah.
I directed this guy in a production of The Lion in Winter. He played Prince John, the youngest of the 3 princes, and that was a good show.
Yes, it was. And I was 16 at the time. Yes. I'm not going to say how many decades ago that was, okay. But by the color of my beard, you might be able to tell.
But, yeah, you have another collection from back then. You had shared on Facebook the other day a news clipping of you in, what was it, that you were appearing in? Arsenic and Old Lace.
Arsenic and Old Lace when I was in high school, yes. There was a picture of me
I was going to say a 6'3" Ted Roosevelt.
And actually, I can let everybody see that. It looked like that.
Okay.
There I am doing the charge, the most famous line that Teddy has in the entire show.
The charge being a run upstairs.
Yes.
That's a wonderful show. But also, I remember visiting, and I don't think I know I never got to see the whole performance, but I remember visiting a rehearsal of A Funny Thing happened on the way to the Forum. And you were playing Miles Gloriosus, leading your Roman soldiers in chanting Sinister Dexter, Sinister Dexter, Sinister Dexter.
Yes, which is left, right in Latin. So it was very fun.
But it was also it's also the name of the villain in a cartoon show, which I would have to Google to figure out which one. But which I just thought that was delightful. Anyway, but RJ started from, kind of those normal beginnings. Many of us performed in high school plays and stuff. I did. And, but he kept on going to, you went to American Academy, right? In New York?
Yes. I am an American Academy dropout, basically, because I wasn't invited back for the second year.
You know what? Me neither. So, but then we share that with some very good people, though. Edward G. Robinson wasn't invited back.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, they offered him his money back for the first year. Now, they didn't offer me that, but they told him he had no future in acting. And also, Ruth Gordon, also, who was actually the graduation speaker when I was there. And she said that you should never, besides never giving up, she said that you should never agree to face the facts.
That boy, that could be my call to arms, basically.
Yeah, there you go. And no, so I don't know. Why don't you tell us where where your path led you from there?
Well, the very good thing that happened when I was at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts was on my way back to the bus that I caught every night back to New Jersey. A friend of mine stopped to see a street performer, an African-American magician named Chris Capehart. And he did, I always thought magic tricks were lame. It's just like, it's a trick. Well, he did a routine that was so entertaining. And then at the end of it, he passed the hat. And I was just like, I want to do that. I now like magic because of the way that guy did it. So I went out, started learning about magic and started getting props and doing things. And a year later, I started street performing on the streets of Manhattan in Times Square. And who should I run into but Chris Capehart, who ended up becoming my mentor for the next 5 years of my life, because we would share street corners together and, where we take turns. Because the thing that makes street performing hard is doing show after show after show after show. So if you if you work with a couple other guys, you could take turns. And that way you can build interest in your next show and make more money that way by alternating with other people. So I did that with Chris for the next 5 years of my life. Then a funny thing happened. I started street performing on Schubert Alley back in the day, and all the police at this point knew me, and they'd come by and they'd go, you don't make anybody late and all this stuff. And we were all very cool about it. They'd only move me if they had to because, but I was performing in Schubert Alley, and a gentleman comes up to me after a show and says, "I'm a casting director for the Broadway show Barnum." And I went, "Yeah, sure you are. Yeah, right." And he said, "No, seriously, we're auditioning somebody to be a performer doing kind of what you do outside the show." And I walked by the show, and there was somebody, it was Bradley Stephen Fields at the time, and he was doing a kind of a Barker thing. But he wasn't used to street performing. And if you're not used to it, it's a bit of a shock. So the next day, I was much surprised. I actually got a call from the casting director. I actually went into an audition. And a week later, I was performing on Broadway as the Barker in front of Barnum. And I proceeded to learn to juggle and some of the other variety skills in the show, and ended up within a year of that being in the show. So I went from being a street performer to being a Broadway performer, and it all just happened. I was doing the right thing at the right time and seen by the right person, which a lot of my career has been.
I want to interject something here. If you have questions, please post them in the chat, and at the end, Todd will look at them, and we'll see if we can get some answers for you. At any rate, I have here something, kind of a pictorial timeline.
Oh my.
And we're going to start here. And here we're going to share that. And
Oh my.
so there is Prince John from let's see.
I believe that was the 1500s. Literally, that's
Yeah, well, no, yeah, well, 1400s actually. No, but he was. So this is RJ at age 16 or 17.
16.
16 in A Lion in Winter. Now we have RJ as a magician, looking very sinister. And was that a headshot from?
Yes, that was my headshot then. It also was a good magic publicity photo. And it's very odd because, you know, I always wanted to be like the, you know, the kind of David Copperfield and mysterious. And so I ended up being more like a Penn and Teller. Just,
Yeah.
I do comedy magic because it just works better with my personality.
Well, and here you are in front of Barnum. And next we have you in Barnum,
Yes.
down there at the bottom, looking up at, that's not Jim Dale, I think you told me.
No, that was Michael Burston.
Okay.
And one of my jobs was in the show, I would have to pick Barnum up on my shoulders for 8 shows a week.
Okay.
Which was fine with Jim Dale. With Tony Orlando, it was a lot of work.
All right. And now we had, and this is again, oh, you know, this is out front of Barnum, but that's a,
Well,
you know,
once
that's
I
a
was
really
in the
wonderful
show,
group of kids there.
I still did the Barker out front before the show, and then went in and did the show because I was young. And actually, on a matinee day, I would go and do a magic show at a party between the two shows. I mean,
Right.
I had a lot of energy.
Yes. But I was also looking at the group you're working with here, and I think you mentioned last time you said something about this group, which was they were a special group.
Yes, they were a special group that was bought. It was young people who were in wheelchairs and had physical or developmental situations. And so, of course, there were pictures being taken because the group, they were being sponsored and they wanted pictures to show, you know, the young people going out and getting to see a Broadway show. And I thought it was great. And they were great. They were a great crowd, too.
Yeah. Well, so where do we go from there? You know what? I'll get back to us. So you know, where do we go? You know, so where did you head from there? I remember you did some tours with Barnum.
No, I didn't actually. I was invited to do the tour and I turned it down at the time. And I ended up being auditioned for and entering a show down in Atlantic City called Roger Manami's Heat Wave.
Okay.
In which I was the juggling act. They already had a magic act. So I was the juggler. I took my Barnum skills and did juggling in the show. And I did that for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tiny little show on a tiny little stage, and for the second version of the show, I sang a solo song, and we got to do some of the numbers with the dancers, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And after that, I kind of stayed in Atlantic City. I ended up buying a house down there, and I ended up working all of the casinos in the next 10 years. I literally, sometimes I did programs like at Trump's Castle. I was one of the castle characters, and I did that for like 6 months or so. And then I would go to, say, the Tropicana, and I performed there for a lunch thing, and then and just all over the different casinos. It was a very good market in the 80s and a lot of fun. And I got to meet and work with some really, really talented people.
Mm. Well, and along the way there was some film work. And yeah, go ahead.
I got to do some film work. I actually did appearances, but I also got to do stand-in work. And one of the people I got to stand in for was Jeff Goldblum in a movie called Fathers and Sons. And I have to tell you, watching Jeff Goldblum work is an education in acting. Just the way you know, you couldn't pass the camera. You almost couldn't hear him because he talks so, but you know, with the microphones and everything, he picks up every sound and every nuance. And it was from watching him that I kind of learned that film acting, the difference between that and stage acting is film acting, you don't have to demonstrate an emotion. All you have to do is feel the emotion and the camera will pick it up. I also got to be stand-in for Penn Jillette and meet Penn and Teller when they made the movie Penn and Teller Get Killed, which was filmed in Atlantic City. And I got to work on that for 9 weeks. So that was a great deal of fun. And I got to really kind of hang out with Penn and Teller, which for any magician is a wonderful situation.
Right. Well, the thing I was bringing up about film, though, was there's a wonderful short film with you as the star. And this is a film that, you know, it's the wrong length. They don't show 30-minute movies in theaters. And it's, you know, it's just too long for it's too long for a two-reeler opening short, and it's not long enough to be the main thing on the bill. But I would very highly recommend anybody watching this. It's on Amazon Prime. It's free, and it's just a delightful movie. Now you have that queued up, I think, so we can see the trailer.
Yes, I do. Let me pull that up for us now.
Also, this is the, I'm going to say that you can tell that you've been listening to people in New Jersey all your life.
I'm sorry, I will stop share because apparently I pulled up the wrong one.
It's okay.
It wouldn't be right if we didn't have a technical glitch occur.
Of course.
There we go. Oh no, I'm getting YouTube. It does not want to do that. Let me do this. There we go. All right, I'm doing it right now. So here we go. Full screen. Here we are.
Here we go.
Establishing a rigid training ritual is the only way to prepare for a stunt like this. You gotta want it so bad you're willing to eat fire for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Of course. The fire game ain't easy, you know what I mean? You're out there every day trying to share your skill, trying to share yourself with people who do not really appreciate how difficult it is. But all that's going to change soon. I'm working on something new, something big. What I'm working on, man, I'm finally going to get my name in the record books. It's going to change everything for me.
Yeah, so everybody
And
look for
that's the
Go ahead.
that is the trailer from Down in Flames. And actually, we made that film in 2013. So a lot of dark hair makeup was sprayed the hair quite a bit for that. And of course, I've been doing fire eating. I learned that back in the early 80s as well. And I actually, in the film, am eating fire multiple times. And let me tell you, we shot the whole thing in about 9 days. And by the end of it, I couldn't taste anything. My mouth was numb. And it took me a couple weeks to recover from it because I ate fire so much.
But at least, as you were telling me, that you were at least using alcohol as opposed to methanol.
Well, for part of it, some of the fire tricks require a mix of alcohol and lighter fluid. Right. So when you see me do the blowout and the thing lights up, that had some lighter fluid in it because it was necessary.
Well, yeah, because alcohol burns blue and clear.
Exactly. It burns too cool for a lot of fire tricks. So what I've been doing for 30, 40 years is mixing about a 50-50 mix of grain alcohol and lighter fluid. That's a little trick out there for those of you who want to go out and become a fire eater.
Okay.
Glad I could help. My suggestion, don't do it.
The other thing that's just really lovely about that film, besides the wonderful comedy and the wonderful Italian Jersey guy, is the love that it shows for all of those variety acts. There's some really wonderful variety performers, because it's a documentary style thing, and so it has interviews with guys who really do that for a living, and it's not just the character of Tony, but it's all the real guys who are out there doing those tricks. And, that's learning. Those are really not easy skills to learn, and once you've learned how to do the stuff, then you have to learn how to perform it. I mean, you know, well, because most magic is, like you were saying before, it's just a manipulation, and it's like, so what? The whole thing is when you present it and how you do the patter for them.
The biggest problem magicians have is they get hung up on tricks, but it's also a problem that jugglers have. Jugglers and magicians focus on learning the trick. And once they have the trick, they think that that's it. But it isn't. I mean, you know, it's one thing to take an object like a coin, I got a very nice silver one there, and place it in your hand and make it appear as if it vanishes. But it isn't the vanishing that makes it magic. It's the presentation. And by the way, do you know what it's called when a magician does what I'm doing right now? Well, that's called gravity. And it always, do you know what that's called?
No.
The technical term is showing off. And you do it, I can also do two. I'm probably going to be nervous now and be shaky, but I can do two at the same time. Do you know what that's called? That's
really
called,
showing off.
That's called I Need to Get a Life. That's what that's called, because it's really silly that you learn something like that.
Hmm. So anyway, the thing is, there's a whole nother chapter, which I'm happy to report. You know, one of the themes in all of our interviews is that artists have to be chameleons of a sort.
Oh, yeah.
Because what you thought you were going to do doesn't always turn out to be what you're going to be asked to do. We were seeing this last week. I mean, Duke Dang probably thought he was going to be running this beautiful theater under the Guggenheim, and he's had to figure out a whole new thing to do.
I've been lately becoming a master of Zoom.
Well, but the other piece I was
Zoom shows, especially.
Yeah. The other piece, though,
I'm
that
sorry.
we've become a master of is there, and let's do that. The other piece is this. And well, Gina, that you almost might have been anticipating our COVID-19 thing, and having to stay home and having to spend time in front of screens and typing. But you've now got what? Well, last I looked, we had counted 15.
Yes,
books.
my 16th is about to be released. It's being released March 15th. And interestingly, it's called Infection in the Mind, and it deals with a terrorist group wanting to unleash a virus to cause a pandemic. Now, the only reason, you know, someone's like, might be saying, oh, well, you know, because of the events of the last year, I planned that out in 2017, that would be the book that would come out now.
Okay.
So, you know, one of my beta readers says, "Were you prophetic? How did you know?" And I didn't. And it's just, this is the spot that it came in the series.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I was working a cruise ship when I started actually publishing. I've been writing since the 1990s, but it was always sort of a hobby. I did sell some short stories, and I got short stories that were bought by H.P. Lovecraft magazine of horror and weird tales and things, because I've always been attracted to the paranormal and the weird and horror. But in 2017, I finally said, okay, you know, self-publishing is possible now. A decade earlier, it was almost impossible. But I decided to make the commitment, and I started to publish. So it was, again, I was working a cruise ship, so I had a steady job. I spent a lot of time writing. I worked all of 2016 and all of 2017. I lived on a ship, going home for a few days every few months. And I really got into the habit of writing, and I learned how to format the books and how to prepare the books. And all of that was while I was on the ship. And then when I came off the ship and all the situations of the last year occurred, I was already had my foot in the door, as it were, of publishing. And it's continued to grow. And I was very lucky to be doing the right thing at the right time. When I got the cruise ship, they did a big show called Magic to Do, and they needed a magician who could sing, do simple choreography, and do sleight of hand. So, and the director of the show was somebody I'd worked with 20 years ago. So that's how I got the gig. And then I was on the ship for 2 years, started publishing it. And then when I got off the ship and the pandemic hit, I was already very, very involved in the publishing end. So I just happened to be doing the right thing at the right time.
Well, and that Magic to Do is a compendium of Stephen Schwartz's material, and he is a local here where I live in Ridgefield, and they're doing a show of songs from all the shows he's written. And we have a local equity theater company, and so they're doing it, but again, it's virtual, since it's a tiny little theater that was originally built as a teaching hall for the Schlumberger Company's training facility. But anyway, things keep being connected. So I don't know. So all right, Todd, do we have anything? Do we have any questions in the chat?
I think there are a couple here. Arjay, talent, persistence, luck. Which of these are most important for a career in the arts?
I would have to say persistence. And, you know, always always trying to improve. I mean, a perfect example is with my writing. The first books I published, I have, since they've been published, rewritten them because I got a new editor and republished them. And they're better than they were. And that's the thing I really like about self-publishing, is that I can improve something I wrote years ago. And any time I want to update it and make it better, I can. I think it's a very important thing that you keep trying, because as the famous Zen proverb says, when the student is ready, the master will appear. And in the arts, when you keep working in what you do, the opportunities will appear. A perfect example is the reason I ended up doing Down on Flames was because I did, the director and the co-writer of Down on Flames was doing a student film that featured a magician. And he originally had hired Todd Robbins, who was not available. Todd Robbins is in Down in Flames, actually. His schedule did allow me to use it. But he originally was going to use him, and then Todd had to bow out, and he couldn't find somebody who could do the magic and the acting that he wanted. And then I showed up at the audition, and it ended up being a wonderful partnership, and that ended up winning 10 awards. It was called Beyond Belief, and it ended up winning 10 awards, and I won 2 actor awards at film festivals. And that was what gave us the inspiration to make Down in Flames. So one thing leads to another, that leads to another, and it's really an amazing, amazing situation.
Would you say in your career, I mean, you've had really so many versions of a career in the arts. I mean, it's amazing.
The thing is, the one thing I wanted ever since I said I'm going to be a performer, that's what I'm going to be, is I wanted to make a living at it. And the one thing I've always done is made a living as a performer. I've been able to support myself, put my daughter through college, buy a house, all of those things, because as a performer.
Is there any one thing that you really preferred more? Like, you know, the acting, the writing,
One of the questions people ask an author is, what's your favorite book? And I read, somebody said this, and I promptly stole it, which is my next one.
Your publicist must love you.
Well, I'll add to it one more. Usually the one I'm working on right now is my favorite book. I mean, I'm working on a new book right now that I'm very secretive about until it's ready. But right now, that's my favorite book, because I'm learning this character, and I'm learning about them and their life, and it's all really quite amazing. With performing, it's kind of what I'm doing at the time. I mean, I really liked making films. Acting in films is a wonderful experience, and I really enjoy it. But long hours, hard work, and I like doing magic shows. But you have to carry a lot of equipment, and you have to go places and drive a lot, and you know, no matter what it is, there's an upside and downside. And the bottom line, of course, with my magic show is when I get up on stage, I start doing it, I'm right at home. And I feel like I'm where I should be.
Well, someone's asking, what's the most unusual gig you ever had?
Unusual gig. Whoa. Unusual. Well, being Penn's stand-in was kind of really unusual, because he's got 4 inches on me at least. I had to wear really tall shoes and things to do that. And that's really weird, because I'm 6'4", so to actually be taller than I normally am is kind of strange. I've done a lot of themed parties where I had to create characters. I once made a Spider-Man costume because it was a superhero themed party. One of the other skills I learned along the way was sewing, and which came in very, very handy, because my wife and I make all the costumes I've ever worn. Again, it was originally because I didn't want to spend the money, and later on became something I really, really enjoyed doing. So the most unusual, nothing jumps to my mind. A lot of it, I went in feeling really unprepared, like Magic to Do. I felt very unprepared with all these really incredible singers and dancers who had worked cruise ships before, and I had never worked a cruise ship. But I had a great time doing it, and it was a wonderful experience. So, you know, there's always a little bit of fear when you go into something new. There's always a little bit of excitement, and it's all worked out pretty well. So I've been very lucky.
I think to end, there's 2 things I'd like you to do. One is hold up your new book.
Ah, yes. This is it has been, it's ended up right now, it's in 15 book award competitions. Okay. And it has already won one. It won the best book the Best International Book Award, the BIBA. It's already won. So it's already won one award for horror. It's called The Vanishing. It's a retelling of the Legends of the Jersey Devil in a modern situation and a explanation that could even be plausible.
And the other thing I'd love for you to do is share again your, I don't even want to tell them what it is before you show them.
A demonstration of magic.
Yes.
So let me go here. And yes, this is the correct one, I believe. Yes.
One of the things people always ask me is, do I believe in real magic? And I do. But it has very little to do with the kind of trickery you've seen me do tonight. There's real magic all around us, except most of the time we're too busy to notice it. One of the things that happened this last fall in the town I live, Phillipsburg, New Jersey, tiny little eggs were left on the branches of trees and bushes. And those eggs lay dormant over the winter. And come the spring, about a month from now, they're going to hatch. When they do, tiny little worm-like creatures fall out. They'll find the first thing there is to eat, usually a leaf, and they'll eat, and they'll eat, and they'll eat. And as they eat, they grow. And as they grow, they change. And then something that no scientist can explain to you happens. They wrap themselves in a cocoon of their own making. In that cocoon, a little miracle takes place. The Greeks called it metamorphosis. What goes in a worm-like creature, you might call it a caterpillar, comes out looking very different. Now here is the magic. Here's a creature that has never in its life possessed a pair of wings, and yet within its consciousness, it is knowing to open its wings and to take to the sky. And as it flies about, it meets another, like itself. You might say it finds its perfect other half. And then what begins is a dance as old as the world itself. And from these two tiny little butterflies, we get hundreds.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very, very much, RJ. And to thank you for all of you folks who joined us this evening. We'll be back next week, and we will have, next week is Kiko. Help me out, Todd.
Yep, Kiko Gavantes.
Yes, who's a painter and art collector.
Yes.
Who's also making his way in the arts under these strange circumstances we all find ourselves in right now. So thank you very much all for coming, and thank you, RJ, for doing this again.
And
we already did it once.
Is if anyone would care to find out about my books, just go to my website, arjaylewis.com. And you can even get, if you join my mailing list, you can get a free novella.
Okay. Wonderful.
Great.
All right. So see you all next week. Good night.
Thank you,
Take care,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you, RJ.
Bye-bye.